Come on!
Welcome, viewers. You're watching the Jungle Gyms, Sunday, the 19th of December, and it's me and Paddy, and we're here to talk about the Celtic and Hibs Premier Sports Cup final, and we have just won the first silverware at the first opportunity this season. Amazing, amazing. Paddy, you must be buzzing.
Oh, mate, buzzing's not even. It doesn't even cut it, mate. I'm totally, absolutely ecstatic. I know it was a tight game, and I'd actually say to you guys at the start, I says I predicted it was going to be 2-1 to Celtic, and
You did.
thank God it came through, mate. Thank God, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm over the moon. I'm delighted for the players. I'm delighted for the fans who were incredible today, in full voice. Every single one of them, each and every man, every single one of them, they were incredible. They delivered so much atmosphere today, so they deserve that trophy as much as anybody. But as I say, for the manager, for the players, for the fans, for everybody that's involved with Celtic, mate, an incredible day. Fantastic.
It is, mate. It is. What a wonderful day. I'm so chuffed, as you said. I'm chuffed. It's for the new management team, for a new squad of players, and for generally just a new mentality going around at Parkhead right now. It's brimming with positivity, and I'm so chuffed that we picked up the first bit of silverware at the first time of asking this season. And I think it's very important that we did that. Right, the actual game itself, 2-1. You said that, I can't believe that you predicted it like that, but I was hoping for. I wanted like for the good of my own heart, I wanted like an easy 4-0 victory. You know, two early goals, and then maybe get a couple later on, just to kind of keep the entertainment balanced out over the piece of the 90 minutes. But it was a tense fucking game. Right. First off, okay, I know we like to go through it chronologically, but let's just get to it. Kyogo, how good was Kyogo's goals today, man? The first one was brilliant. Two touches, one touch to kill it dead from that Callum McGregor pass, and then he turns second touch in the back of the net. Keeper never had a chance, and then the second goal. This time he's on a bit of confidence, and he only takes one touch. He just lobs it over the keeper. Oh, it was exquisite. This guy is an international quality player. He's ripping up right now in Scotland. I think he was on like 14 goals already. And now he's added another two. The guy is just brimming with class right now. And I know that he scores a lot of kind of fox in the box type goals, but these type of goals were very special, especially the second one. How do you sum up that man?
Mate, what can you say about Kyogo? I mean, he's like, he hardly had a sniff the entire game. And more or less, his first two shots at goal was his first goals. You know what I mean? They were incredible. In fact, I was watching it on my IPTV today, Gav, and I think pretty much everybody else had a few technical problems today. So my IPTV was buffering like fuck. So I think it was yourself that had put up the WhatsApp group. Fucking 1-0 Hibs. I'm in the middle of shouting, "You dirty bastard, you cunts!" This, that, everything. And then the next minute, I see while I was taking this big thing out, I seen you texting back. Yes, I looked at the telly. And the next minute, it's just unbuffered. And there he is. There's Kyogo in the fog, scoring a goal. Come on! Beautiful.
Aye. By the way, see the fog. Whenever the game started off with the fog, it seemed like a Milan derby in like the San Siro with the fog. You know,
So it did.
It brought a bit of like, added atmosphere to it. But right. Kyogo, first and foremost, I think it was touch and go. We didn't really know if he was going to play, and I think a lot of people had that fear that if he did play, then we would have been gambling with fitness. And I'm glad he came off kind of near the end. Moffat came on. I think that was in the 83rd minute. But I think in hindsight, we're glad that we took the gamble only because it worked out well for us. He never got injured, and he made the difference. He was the man that made the difference for Celtic today because if he wasn't playing, then I don't know where that moment of magic would have came from. But let's just start with the lineup and break it down for there, mates.
Gav, see before we go on, can I just give a wee special mention to Dasbo's one of the guys that comes on here and helps us out with the co-host. Dasbo had a wee bit of bad news at the weekend there. Unfortunately, his father-in-law passed away. So just a big special mention to Dasbo. Love you, pal. Laura, all the family, Julie and James as well. I know it's been a bit of a hard time, so hopefully this gives you a wee bit of a G up as much as it's no really equatable, but aye, a big shout out to his love a lot.
Well said. Well said. Thoughts are with the family. Hope you are all there to comfort each other. Absolutely, 100%. And as you said, I hope that they took a wee bit of consolation from today with a bit of silverware for Celtic. But to kind of touch on the starting lineup, so at the back we've got Hart, Starfelt, Cameron Carter, Vickers, Josip Juranovic was at right back, and left back we had Taylor. So Ralston was on the bench. Were you surprised that Taylor was playing at left back rather than Scales? I think we were quite impressed with Taylor's performance today, but surprised at that.
Very surprised. I was a wee bit surprised that Ralston being left out, but then I heard Postecoglou's comments just before the game, and he said that Ralston had a heavy Wednesday. So I'm still not quite sure what that means, whether he was kind of running at the ground or whatever, but he did say that he was fit and ready to come off the bench, so it was one positive at least. But whenever I seen Greg Taylor's name being mentioned, I thought, oh God, that was my biggest kind of weak point in the team, because I thought Martin Boyle, who predominantly is a right-sided player, I honestly thought he would have rinsed Greg Taylor, both for speed and both for physicality. But as it turns out, Greg Taylor, I actually thought he had a great first half, mate. I really did.
Here, I can't get this out of my head, but whenever you say that Ange said that Ralston had a heavy Wednesday, I thought you were going to say a heavy wedgie. I just had to say that, sorry. Right, okay, so a bit of surprise there. So he had a heavy wedgie, and that's why he never started. And Taylor over Scales, but Taylor did really, really well. I heard these cliches beforehand saying, "Oh, he brings a bit of balance because he's a natural left back." But I think and I've never really bought into that. But today, I was really, really impressed with Taylor. He played with purpose. He played as a proper team player for Celtic, and everything he did was deliberate. I had an intention behind it. He wasn't just playing it by ear. I was really impressed with him, and for the occasion as well, I'm super chuffed that he rose to the occasion, because you never want to see people fail at Parkhead. And we've extended the guy's contract anyway, so he's going to be a Celtic player for a few more years anyway. We want him to succeed. But moving on into the midfield, we've got Rogic, Kalmak and Turnbull. No surprises there. The only feeling that I had was I was feeling a little bit bad for Beaton, who I think he's had a good bit of form in the past few games. Probably even more than the past few games. I think he's been quite dependable so far for the majority of this season. The midfield probably near enough takes care of itself, but then up front you've got Kyogo proving the doubters wrong, starting from the middle, and then you've got Mikey Johnson and Abada in the wings, two wingers who you could accuse them maybe of being low on confidence in recent months. What was your thoughts on Mikey and Abada in this game today? Do you think they surpassed expectation? Do you think? In fact, no, I don't believe they surpassed expectation.
No. Honestly, though, I thought Mikey Johnson, right, and I know some folk might disagree with me here, but I thought Mikey Johnson had a good game. The only thing that was missing for Mikey Johnson today was his end product. Abada was shocking. Again, I've said it in recent weeks. I've been kind of... I've not really wanted to say it, but he's been terrible for the majority of the season, other than a few quality games, which he has been superb in. But for the majority of the season, I thought he's been just a ghost, as in a floating jersey. He's really not been good enough. He's not impacted himself on the game well enough. He's not done enough to be part of that forward trio. You look at the likes of Jota. I know Jota's on he's up there in terms of quality, but Abada doesn't even bring half of what Jota brings into the game. And it's a shame, because I know people say he's only 18, 19, 20, whatever he is, but 20. It doesn't matter. He's still not been playing good enough, And you look at today, mate, and today was another prime example. It's a cup final, and Abada's still nowhere to be seen.
If I was to compare and contrast Mikey with Abada today, I think Mikey, his decision making, I wouldn't say it's appalling, but it leaves a lot to be desired. All right, Dale. Hope you're doing well.
What's up, Dale boy? Come on, champions!
Right, Mikey, decision making leaves a lot to be desired, but he was trying. He had the gumption, he had the cojones to actually put himself into a position to make an arse of it. He was really trying, and I think in the first half,
Yes.
especially, if anything was going to come for Celtic in the first half, it was going to come from Mikey. Even though a lot of times when he was getting into that position, he was making a bit of an arse of it. Whereas Abada on the other flank, he just wasn't engineering any chances. He might run here and there.
Yes.
Um, he might make a few easy passes. He might try and take it round the man, but more or less, he would get dispossessed. He needs to keep trying because that's what Mikey is doing on the other side. But Mikey was actually looking like an exciting player. So the first half, Celtic obviously the better team, but chances wise there wasn't that many. By the way, well, like the whenever that game starts and the referee gives a bit of license to get that first hit in. So this was it. 2 minutes in, Lewis Stevenson clatters into Abada in the middle of the pitch, and Celtic were able to make a counter attack. And Beaton, although he does give the free kick, does not give a yellow card. Is that just one of these things that we should always be used to, regardless of Celtic or any other team? Is it just one of these things that you're allowed to do that, or should referees actually fucking follow the script and yellow card a guy when it's a deserved yellow card?
Well, you heard. I watched it on Premier Sports, Gav, right? So the commentary was basically Michael Stewart saying it was a stonewall yellow card, but he can understand because it's the occasion. And then Stephen Craig is jumping in and saying, well, it doesn't matter what the occasion is, the rules are the rules. So excuse me for this, but I totally agree with Stephen Craig, because if you're if you run in an elbow a man in the first 30 seconds of a cup final, does that mean to say that you just totally ignore it because it's a cup final? No.
Did Barry Robson do that one time against Rangers in a Celtic and Rangers match? That wasn't a cup final.
No, it wasn't a cup final. No, it doesn't matter. But no, listen, it was 100%. Mate, it was a yellow card. The guy should have been booked. But what was even more galling about it was that you knew fine well, right? Everybody knew the first Celtic player that made the tackle after that was going to be a yellow card. And lo and behold, what happened? It was a yellow card. And what happened right after that, Gav? The first Hibs guy that made the tackle after that get booked right away. So that was Mr. Beaton basically just trying to play the level fucking field there,
Yeah.
Because see the tackle that the Hibs guy get booked for, I wouldn't have gave a booking for that. I don't think that was a booking. But he's right out. He's right out with the yellow card. He's just trying to make it sound nice and even. He's a bastard, Mr. Beaton. You're a bastard. You're a cunt. Fuck you.
Right. First chance in the second half, it came to Carol Starfelt. It was a corner kick in the 23rd minute, and it was a glancing header in the box. He was completely unopposed, and I think if Kyogo might have been more instinctive running into the back post, then he might have been able to nod it in. But Carol Starfelt, he should have scored it. It was pish contact, and funnily enough, he did the exact same thing in the second half. One of the ones... we hope that we don't regret it. Obviously, we didn't at the end of the 90 minutes, but one of those ones, it would have put my heart at rest in those early stages in the first half. And 2 minutes after that, Turnbull, like fucking hell, it is the year of the hamstring, isn't it? Turnbull pulls up with a hamstring injury and he's replaced by Beaton. I think Beaton, I'm glad that Beaton was there to come in. I'm glad that Beaton has been good on form, as I said earlier on. But tragic for Turnbull, and you could see it whenever he returned to the Celtic bench. He had tears in his eyes. I felt for the guy.
Aye, listen, it's one of these things that's been talked about pretty prevalently in the last few weeks. The amount of hamstring injuries that we're picking up and whatnot. But Big Postecoglou's come out and said, I get this with every single team that I take over because I'm trying to instill a pressing game into these guys, so I'm having to basically take them to the limit. It's just one of the things that happens. I mean, you look at the team that we had last season under Lennon. We didn't have guys that were running about the pitch.
There's no danger of pulling a hamstring.
No, with that intensity. So when you come for a setup like we had last season to this season, it's probably expected that you're going to pull up with muscle injuries. And I know, I'm sorry for mentioning his name again, because I think he's an absolute prick, Stephen Craig. And again, he was a coach at Motherwell as well as a player, and he said during the game that that's the first muscle injury that he's ever seen David Turnbull pulling up with. So that shows the intensity that Celtic's playing with, which is fair enough. But we all know that because we're watching that week in, week out, and we're seeing players pulling up with hamstring injuries or pulling up with muscle injuries. So it's no great to see your players getting an injury like that, but it's totally expected when we're chasing the ball, we're pressing the ball, everything's 100 mile an hour. You know what I mean?
Aye, hopefully.
What I was surprised with, Gav, was, and then I may have missed this off camera, but whenever David Turnbull went off injured and the cameras panned on him, you saw him sitting in the stands, and he was emotional, of course, because he's just been taken after the cup final. And he's sitting there, the tears are in his eyes. He's only a young guy, 21, 22, whatever he is, 23, I can't mind. But he's sitting there, he's emotional, he's crying, the tears are coming down his eyes. And Steve McManus, who's a coach, is sitting beside him. Steve McManus is just looking at the game, and I'm thinking to myself, mate.
Paddy, I saw that. From what I saw, McManus was mic'd up and he was having a conversation with somebody. That's what I saw.
I know, mate, but come on to fuck. If you're a coach, mate, and you're one of your players has come off, he's sitting beside you, he's in tears, he's a young boy, come on, what the fuck do? You stick an arm around him and you say, look, pal, don't worry about it.
I think he was having a conversation with somebody at that moment, though, on the mic. I could be wrong, but that's...
I know, mate, but come on. You at least try and console the boy. And as I say, he might have done so. He might have done so when the cameras panned off, I don't know. But from what I saw, when the cameras were panned on him, because it kept going back and forward to David Turnbull, he never even looked at him. He never even addressed him. It looked a bit shit coaching, to be perfectly honest. So personally, I'm hoping that the cameras missed McManus getting a wee bit of consolation, a wee bit of coaching. But if he didn't, then that's bad crack. That's bad crack.
It's good to hear your compassionate side come out in podcast, mate. I've never been witness that before, so that's good. I like that.
Nobody has.
Right, for the first half, I would say that Hibs were becoming physical to cope with Celtic. If you remember, whenever Celtic played Hibs back at Easter Roads when we went 3-0 up within 30 minutes, I think the only way that they were managing to deal with Rogic, I think in that game they had Gogic, if that's the guy's name, Gogic on Rogic, and they were becoming very exactly. But they were becoming very, very physical to nullify him. And I think that in the first half, Hibs never really had their passing game developed to that point. They weren't really free-flowing. They went counter-attacking. So I think at that moment in the first half, the only thing that they could really do to nullify is Rogic, amongst other people, was to be physical. I think the most liveliest Celtic player was Mikey Johnson. But again, as I alluded to earlier on, he had a poor final ball. I think we were waiting for that moment of magic from Rogic, but in the first half, he was slightly subdued. There was a couple of sack passes though from Carol Starfelt, which I noticed, and that led to a couple of counter-attacks from Hibs, but Hibs counter-attacking in the first half, they were very, very poor. As I said, they'd never had the passing game in motion, and they were like just fucking up for themselves. And Martin Boyle, who was a danger man, as you said at the start of the podcast, he wasn't allowed to expose anyone in the first half. So overall, once we reach half-time, I'm pretty happy with it. Apart from the injury to Turnbull, things were going okay. We hadn't really converted a goal yet. We hadn't converted our possession into an actual goal lead. But apart from that, it was all good. I think they had 2 yellows to our 1. I heard the presenters say like 65% possession to Celtic, but when I was looking at it on a different website, it was like 73% possession to Celtic to their 27.
Mate, it must have been more than that, for fuck's sake. Come on. Celtic dominated them for possession the entire half. I think there was only about maybe 2 or 3 flashpoints where Hibs actually, as you said, they counter-attacked Celtic, but it was only literally like within the space of maybe 2-3 minutes each point. You know what I mean? So there's no danger. No danger. Celtic only had 65% possession. No chance.
Aye. And shots wise, we had 7 to their 1. We had 1 shot on target to their 0. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our shot on target might have been Mikey Johnson, possibly a bad, but maybe Mikey Johnson. It was quite a kind of tame effort right to the keeper's chest.
Yes.
And
yes.
But aye, half time, going into the second half, I was wondering who's going to come out stronger, who's going to be more galvanised. Will it be Hibs? Will it be Celtic? And in the second half, certainly early doors in the second half, that's when it kind of all kicked off with the flashpoints. So I wouldn't say so much that Hibs came out of the traps, but the first flashpoint went to Hibs, and it was on the 50th minute, a corner kick. I think it might have been Starfelt who was culpable of giving away the corner kick.
Yes. Yes.
Corner kick, Paul Hanlon, the Hibs captain for the day, he comes rampaging into the box, and Starfelt, I love that word, Starfelt is a man marking him. It was almost a bit like the goal that we conceded away to Ross County the other night, where it was Liam Scales who was man marking his guy. It was a wee bit like that, but on the other side, Starfelt man marking his guy. Hanlon comes powering into the box, and Starfelt doesn't manage to subdue him, overpower him, and it's a header in, and Hart had no chance. What do you think, mate?
Again, mate, it was a shocking goal to concede. You were listening to that wee fat rat bastard Ali McCoist at the start of the game. You know, he's commentated for Premier Sports. So basically, Chris Sutton has said that Carol Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers have been superb as a partnership this season. And then, of course, fucking Rat Boy's got to get his fucking opinion in and say that they've been technically shocking and they've lost horrendous goals and whatnot. Chris Sutton's basically saying, well, basically, the way that we set up is it literally leaves 2 guys at the back because your fullbacks are rampaging forward and whatnot. But anyway, it was a set piece, so I just wanted to say that wee fat bastard, fuck him. Again, like the corner comes in, Starfelt's already given the ball away for the corner. Ball comes in, Starfelt's in no man's land again. But I tell you what, Gav, I think Joe Hart was really, really bad at that corner kick as well. Because
so?
as I've noticed a couple of times this season, he really does not command his area. At certain times, especially when it comes at set pieces, he doesn't come out to punch the ball out. He doesn't come out to collect the ball. He just stands in his line. And then, as we saw today, the ball came in. It was pretty close. Joe Hart could have definitely come out and punched it. He doesn't do it. Hanlon comes in at basically the back post and gets the ball on target. And then I think it comes off Juranovic. Is that right? I think it comes off Juranovic's chest and just goes over a wee ball here. But listen, it was a goal they deserved because they managed to get a target. But it was a goal that, again, we've been so defensively bad for this season.
Another set piece.
But anyway, they scored that. Fuck them. Fuck. Because...
So you've heard that cliche in football that you're most vulnerable right after you've scored. Well, I think Hibs were determined to put that theory to the test. So right after kickoff, and I think another smoke bomb had went off, or was it just the fog? I don't know. One of the two.
It was a flare. It was a flare, my man.
Back in like the mid-90s football Italia, but right after kickoff, Celtic make a couple of passes. It goes out to Callum McGregor, who's like roughly about the halfway line at the far left, and he just plays through a curling lofted pass to the boy Kyogo, the man of the moment. And as we said, one touch, like I think he's in between the two centre backs, in between Porteous and Hanlon. With one touch, he kills it stone dead, turns around, he's through on goal, and the next touch, he slots it past the goalkeeper. That was sublime. That was like, that was like Larson. That was like Inzaghi at their best, in their prime, getting ahead of their markers, and just one touch, two touch, back of the net before you know it. And fucking hell, it was right after the goal. I was so chuffed with the reaction for Celtic. We caught them cold. It might have been a wee bit of inexperience from Hibs. I don't care. But, and it justified the decision to start with Kyogo. How good was that, mate?
Yes.
Absolutely buzzing. So euphoric.
Oh, mate, it was phenomenal. Because when you concede a goal in the second half, especially after you've dominated the first 45 and you've no scored, and then Hibs come out, they score a goal, and you're thinking, oh, fuck, here we go. Is this going to be one of these days? They do score it, and then what happens? Kyogo just comes right out of the traps and fucking bang! Here we go, equaliser, mate. Incredible, absolutely incredible. As you say, the Flares had created their own atmosphere. It was like fog, and it was like watching Serie A. Oh, mate, what a goal, what a touch, what a finish. Oh yes, I love you, Kyogo.
Man, it was surreal. Like, actually scoring so quickly after we conceded, it was surreal. At one point, I just couldn't believe it. Joseph Agnew, one of our regulars, has posted in to say, Big Heart just stood with his hands by his side for the goal that we conceded at that set piece. Yeah, I'd like to see it again. Maybe you guys are right. No disagreeing with you at all. I think I need to see it again. My focus was on Starfelt, but maybe it was a wee bit stationary for that one. We need to get it sorted for the set pieces, because we, as I said, we lost a very, very similar goal to Ross County there. But moving on for that. A few minutes later, Starfelt in the second half. Again, a corner for Celtic, and a very, very similar header to the one he had in the first half. A glancing header. It went by the post, and one of those ones where if you've got that striker with a predatory instinct, who's, you know, that rule that always run to the far post, because you don't know what is something. Always try and catch that knock on. You know, that's twice. Maybe we should be. I know that McGinty's big on coach, and I know that it's his answer to all the problems in life. But but if you've got that striker running into the back post, we could have converted that chance there in the earlier chance that Starfelt glanced by the post. But anyway, hopefully he can improve in that.
But see, on that, Gav, right? You look at our team that we set up today, and taking aside Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carol Starfelt and Tom Rogic for the start lineup, you take out those three guys, and every single one of your players is like 5'8", 5'9". You know what I mean? We had a very small team out today. So you only had two guys that was going to possibly be able to go and get their head on the end of it, and that was Vickers and Starfelt. So, do you know what I mean? We're not a physical side. We really aren't. We're a technical side.
I get that, but the knockdowns, you know what I mean? They're at a more achievable height.
No, I know. No, 100% agree with you. But the only way that you seen your physical side today was Cameron Carter-Vickers, and I don't think he lost a ball in the air. I really can't recall a time that he lost a ball in the air. Because every time the ball came into him, he totally dominated it. And Starfelt, to an extent, I think he did. But the second half, he totally had a brain fart. Whatever the fuck happened to him, he just went to shit.
Yeah. I don't know if Sutton,
which was incredible.
I don't know if Sutton tried to stick up for Starfelt, cursed Starfelt, but Starfelt had a very, very shaky game, and I'm a big advocate for Starfelt.
But again, it's as Joe Agnew says, Kyogo has done this in a few games. A bit slow going for it, but Starfelt should have scored. I think he should have scored, but unfortunately, you can't score all the time from headers at corners. But I think Starfelt had a good 45 minutes in the first half, and I thought, again, it was kind of Jekyll and Hyde. I thought it was really bad the second half.
Well, about 7 minutes,
much too bad luck.
About 7 minutes after that second chance, the second header for Starfelt in the second half, 7 minutes after that, Joe Hart was forced to make a very, very good save from Kevin Nisbet, who was bearing down on him. Now, why did Nisbet get that chance?
That came for Starfelt.
Yeah, Nisbet sent Starfelt to the cleaners. Now, first off, Starfelt had, for me, an easy clearance. He saw it coming. All he had to do was just, go with it with his left foot, or a header if he wanted to. He completely missed it, and Nisbet at that point gained control of the ball, and then he sent fucking Starfelt for a hot dog. He bears down on Hart, and Joe Hart showed his experience and managed to save it. That was a heart and mouth moment, pardon the pun, not even intended. At that point, like I don't know what was going on, and Starfelt said, "It happens to." I was going to say it happens to the best of defenders. I'm being too kind. At that point,
no.
You
No, no, mate. It happens to the worst of defenders. But as I say, I don't want to be. I don't want to be too harsh on Starfelt, right? Because he did it. For me, he had a really good 45 minutes in the first half. But as I say, second half comes out and he's a totally different player. You know, you had the header, what you're talking about, and then that one there was abominable. It reminded me of the Carol Starfelt who played his first few games for Celtic. He was so uncomfortable on his left-hand side, and all the attacks were coming through the left from the opposition right-hand side, which was Starfelt's left-hand side. And that one especially was the weakest clearance I've ever seen, because he went full stretch with his left leg, Cav, and he totally missed it. And the guy's fucking away by him, and he's like, you could see him with his wee gloves. You know, he was like fucking Super Mario with his wee gloves, trying to run back. And thank God for Joe Hart. And I know Joe Hart was kind of culpable at the goal, but thank God for Joe Hart's experience. He was out quick enough to save the shot and possibly save the game for us. So, and as Joe Agnew says, Starfelt could have caused us the cup. Thank goodness he did not try to tackle him. Yes, because he would have probably been sent off.
Aye, 100%. Hopefully his confidence doesn't suffer from this, because he just got a red card on Wednesday against Ross County, and today he had a bit of a troublesome match, but he's a cup winner now anyway. Right, Paddy, 72 minutes, Kyogo outside of the box lobs the keeper. Now I think we caught Hibs cold. Rogic, fast thinking. He takes a free kick. And it was a wee bit like the ball that Callum McGregor played in for Furuhashi like a few minutes earlier on. So, but this was on the right hand side of the pitch, roughly about the halfway line again. Again, a lofted through ball for Kyogo, and the confidence. You know, a lot of people would shite themselves. He just goes for it first time, lobs the keeper. Beautiful. Hibs didn't know what hit them, man. They didn't know what hit them.
Mate, audacious as fuck, right? The three best chips I've ever seen for a Celtic player was Larsson against Kloss, Dembele, Ibrox, and Furuhashi the day. But the difference between Dembele's chip and Furuhashi the day is that the Hibs goalkeeper was fucking, 6'8", like Mark Macy.
Very tall.
Mate,
aye.
Tallest goalkeeper I've ever seen in Scotland, and Furuhashi chipped him. Now, Mark Macy's 6'8", Kyogo's 5'8", if you're lucky, if he's wearing heels. And he still managed to chip him. And I think, you'll probably tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think it was Furuhashi's first touch. He never took a touch to control it. It was his first touch. His first touch was a chip.
Aye. The confidence.
Fucking beautiful.
That's a goal that we will see again and again like down the years, man. Whenever people will talk about Furuhashi, they'll be talking about goals like that in the cup final. This will be known as the Kyogo Cup final. I'm so chuffed for him, so chuffed for the following he's got back in Japan. I hope entices more players of that calibre to come over to these shows to play for the green and white hoops. What a moment! And again, you know, the guy doesn't speak English. You know what I mean? He's coming to Scotland, and it was a brave move for him. But he's taking the bull by the horns, and everybody's like fell in love with the guy. And to do that in the cup final, to be the man of the moment, the man for the occasion, unbelievable. Aye, beautiful, audacious, as you said. And we'll see it again and again and again. But after that, we start seeing our players getting a wee bit tired in the second half. Like I think Ralston comes on for Taylor. What was up with Taylor? Was it? Don't tell me it was. I don't think it was a hamstring injury. Was Taylor just a wee bit tired?
No,
or what?
I think he took a wee knock earlier on, and I think it might have just been a kind of ongoing effects for that. But I don't think it was anything too kind of sinister or whatever. But excuse me, I've had a few beers a night. Aye. It was good to see Ralston coming on, but at the end of the day, by the time that Kyogo scores, I'm in dreamland, mate, because I've already told you guys, Celtic 2, Hibs 1, and that's it. That was the only result for me. I couldn't see anything else apart from that. Celtic were winning 2-1. You told me there was 5 minutes added on, and I didn't give a fuck because we were still winning 2-1, mate. We could have had 10 guys sent after. I'm still telling you, no, still 2-1. Come on.
Aye. There was still a bit of chaos whenever Paddy was shouting, "Aye, we've won it 2-1." There was still a bit of chaos to happen in Celtic's box. But after Ralston came on for Greg Taylor, you had another series of substitutions. You had Moffat come on for Kyogo. I'm glad with that.
Yes.
You don't want to burn Kyogo out, and then Scales come on for Mikey Johnson. Aye, probably smart substitutions. I think Mikey get yellow carded whenever he came off. I think he was maybe taking the piss a wee bit. I think if Neil Lennon was in the dugout, he would have been like shouting at him and losing his rag. But I think Postecoglou would have been a wee bit more understanding and taking Mikey off. But chaos was still to ensue in the Celtic box. Nisbet at one point he heads it off the post, and then the Hibs attacker following up, he skies it whenever it might have been easier to actually just put it in the back of the net, and claims from the commentator Michael Stewart that Starfelt fouled his man and it was a blatant penalty. I wasn't too sure about that. Like, there might have been hands on his back, but does that always constitute as a penalty? No, you need to look at it in the context. Did the guy dive?
Well,
one way or another, Gav, we rode our luck. We fucking rode our luck at that point.
Gav, if you look at that context, then Greg Taylor should have had a penalty in the first half because the guy came and pushed him. And okay, it might have been kind of slightly harsh, but as we say, the rules of the game is you come into the back of a man, you push him, it's a penalty. And that's what happened.
I'm glad you remembered that. I'm glad you remember that. You're bringing balance here because I would have forgotten to kind of even up like that. Aye, but chaos in the Celtic box, fucking off the post. That was heart and mouth. And you were ready. You were ready to like fucking hit record and go for a podcast. And I'm thinking this could go extra time, mate.
I told you the gods were with me today. I told you 2-1. It was happening. That was it.
And then in the 96th minute, yes. Sometimes stoppage time does go to 96 minutes. Not even whenever Celtic are losing. Whenever we're trying to get a goal, it does happen for other teams who are trying to beat Celtic as well. So that's another thing to even the scales. But in the 96th minute, Hart had a save right at the death. Whenever, I don't know who the fuck it was, but a Hibs player put through, and Hart had to pull out the bag again. And after the full-time whistle, I saw Stevie Woods, our goalkeeping coach, congratulate Joe Hart at the end, and I'm sure he must have been congratulating him on his performance and saying, "We needed you, big man," right at the end. And very true words. Couldn't disagree with that if that's what he was saying. I'm no lip reader, but I'd imagine that's what he was saying. But mate, the full-time whistle goes.
Gav, mate, Joe Hart was on the. He'd obviously done a pre-recorded interview with Premier Sports before the game, and he said like he was getting asked about coming up to Celtic and what was your expectations and can you go another 3-4 years, and he basically said he says I'm not interested in the next 3 or 4 years. I'm just interested in the now. I've won leagues for England. In England, sorry. I've won leagues in England. I've done this. I've done that. I've then had a drop in my career. He says, all I wanted to do was come here and win trophies. He says, when I spoke to Ange Postecoglou and the guy asked him, he says, did you know anything about Ange Postecoglou? And he says, no, didn't know anything about him. He says, but as soon as I spoke to him, I got the cut of the guy's jib. He says, and I liked it. He says, and he was in the same kind of mindset as myself. He says, we just want to come here and create memories, create history. And that's what he's done. That's what he's done already. He's a League Cup winner with Celtic. He doesn't give a fuck about whatever happens in the future. Know that he doesn't care, but he only lives for the now, which means that he's laser focused on game to game to game. Mm. And that's what I like about Joe Hart, is that you can see it, and I've saw it in the flesh. The guy is laser focused. He doesn't care. He's not thinking about the next game. He's only thinking about what's happening right now. So that's especially important for Celtic, because we can't get pipe dreams of saying, right, we're going to go and win the league, we're going to go and win the Scottish Cup, we're going to go and win the League Cup. We just need to take each game at a time and go and perform our best. And we saw it against Ross County. Mate, how much effort that it takes to actually go and win a game at times. And that's what it took today, mate. It took maximum effort, it took maximum concentration, it took maximum inspiration. And that's what we got. And that's why it's so great now to be a Celtic supporter, because we're getting everything for Big Ange. Big Ange is the leader. They stood behind their leader, the gallant Aussie Ange. Come on! It's great, mate. It's fucking phenomenal. I'm delighted.
Whenever you said 2-1, I was not hoping for a kind of hard-fought victory. I know that McGinty wanted a belter of a game. I would have taken a very, very boring game, like 2-0 at the start, and we just ride that out into the sunset, maybe another couple of goals for added entertainment value. But I would have taken a very, very boring game, as long as it didn't look like Hibs had any chance. But quite the opposite. We came in within a boss here of going to extra time, which would have been very uncomfortable. But full-time whistle goes, we've won the Premier Sports Cup. How important is that for us going on for the rest of the season? Will it give us more confidence for the remaining fixtures in December, and in the big game on the 2nd of January? Do you think that all really galvanises?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you... Well, for talk's sake, hypothetically, Gav, if we were to have lost...
We've put a marker down. We've well and truly put a marker down.
Of course we have, mate. We've put the marker down. If we were to have lost that game of day, Gav, and we're going into the 2nd of January to play the fucking rotten mob on the back of being losers in a League Cup final, then surely to God that's got to put the banal down. But if you go in as League Cup winners, we've been the first trophy winners of the season, you know, and beating a team that's bet the team that you need to beat in the 2nd of January, then surely that's got to get your morale up. And especially with being kind of under, excuse me, what's the word? Without having key players like your Jotas, you know, and we've done that with guys like Mikey Johnson, Abada on the wing, you know, Kyogo's just come back for that game. Mate, this is a massive win for us. There's no if buts are about it. It's a massive win for us because we've taken a big scalp, and we really need to go from confidence to confidence, because we done it last week. We done it, through the week against Ross County. That was a massive win for us, and that was a big show of emotion, a big show of spirit, a big show of character, that we could come back and win that game at the last fucking, the last clutches of death. You know what I mean? Big Ralston come up with the best header you've ever seen, and now the next game you come in and you've won the league. You've won the League Cup. Come on,
mate.
And then
I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point that you make. See, whenever you're talking about us being under strength today, so I think there's like certain people who will be naturally confident players, such as like Jota, who didn't feature today, but a lot of the kind of so-called fringe players who were instrumental in today's win, people like Mikey Johnson, Greg Taylor, even Beaton, players like that, who have never been a nailed down starter for Celtic. These guys were very important today to see us through and win the game. And hopefully it's these types of players who will take a massive amount of confidence from having known that they played their part today to bring the first bit of trophy back to Celtic for this season. It's much easier whenever you've got a full strength team and these players can play bit part roles coming in and 2 minutes left. But they started for the start, and we needed them. We depended on them. They had to get into the trenches today, and they did that. Without them, then we wouldn't have had this trophy today. So hopefully they can take confidence, and that'll really set up their stall for the rest of the season. They'll believe in themselves, and they'll become more and more dependable as the season goes on. I was also happy, a wee noticeable mention for Moffat, who's been playing with the development, like the Colts, the B team, for a lot of this season, but I think he's been called up during our injury crisis to kind of train with the first team. I think he made his debut at the weekend, on Wednesday up in Dingwall against Ross County. I think he came on latterly in the second half, but he came on in the 83rd minute for Kyogo. What a sub that is, coming on for Kyogo. And I remember right at the very end. So obviously he's got his winner's medal. Brilliant for him, brilliant for his family. But right at the very end, whenever we were trying to hold on to possession, at one point he was on the left wing. He was on his own, and he had like two players around him, and he managed to hold on to the ball and call their bluff rather than just knock it past them and then get blocked back. But he managed to hold on to the ball and be cute turn around, shield it, and then pass it back to whoever, Callum McGregor. Very, very smart. Just like we kind of small moments like that where he had the confidence, where he could take the ball and not lose it. He was able to recycle the ball. Great things like that. So people like that, I'm so happy for him, and I hope that he has a great career, whether it be with Celtic or whoever. Just I'm buzzing for all these players, man, and for Ange as well. I don't know if Ange does get very emotional. He might not show it, but for him to come to Scotland, for him to get ridiculed by the media in some sectors.
Gav, funny you should mention that, right? Because I was talking to my dad, right? And he was having a wee bit of a go at Ange. No, I don't want any bad comments, right? But what he was saying was, I would love to see Ange showing a bit more emotion on the sidelines. And I said, like, it doesn't matter because Big Ange is on the sidelines and he's watching. He said that for the start when he came in. He says, I don't stand on the sidelines. I don't go off my nut. I don't shout and ball. He says, I watch the game. He says, all I do is watch the game. And all I'm doing is looking. And I'm looking at every single moment. I'm looking at every single flashpoint. And I'm thinking, I'm intrinsically thinking, what can I do here to change this? What can I do to keep this right? So he doesn't need to be standing there fucking flailing his arms, going mental. He says he does that in private. He does that whenever the game's finished. He says he's there to be the boss. And that's what he does. You know, and fair play to Ange, by the way, because I thought his substitutions today, Gav, were excellent. Obviously, with the exception of David Turnbull, because he had to bring on Beaton for him. But I thought when he brought off Furuhashi for Moffat, I thought it was a good one because it's not great for any striker to come off when he's on a hat trick. But at the same time,
that was proactive rather than reactive.
Of course it was, mate, because we've got games coming up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just brought this guy back for injury, possibly too early for injury, and he scored 2 goals. You know what I mean? So there's no reason to bring him off. No reason to keep him on. Sorry. And it was good to bring Moffat on as well because that gives Moffat experience of playing in a cup final. You know, you've got guys like Greg Taylor as well. Greg Taylor's never played a cup final before, and I said at the start of the game that was my biggest weak point was Greg Taylor because I thought that Greg Taylor facing up against Martin Boyle would have been an absolute mismatch for speed and physicality. But Greg Taylor, I thought, had a great game. I really did. I really did think he had a great game. More of the time, Greg Taylor actually spent on the right-hand side of midfield, which was fun, which was strange. I think there was only one time that Martin Boyle actually got the better of Greg Taylor for pace and speed, and that was a chance early on in the first half, Gav, that thankfully came to nothing. But I really did think Greg Taylor had a really, really good game, which I was surprised with. I really was, because I would have played Scales before him. But no, he had a good game. So to each of the guys that played today, Gav, I thought I thought they all played their part today. And I know Starfelt had a horrible, horrible second half. But he still played a great 45. Mate, he still played a great 45 minutes. As you know, mate, I've been one of his biggest critics. One of his biggest critics for the start of the season. But in the last few months, the guy's been fantastic. And a great, fantastic 45 minutes. And it's a magical one for Big Ange as well. It really is, because he's only been in the job for, 5-6 months? And that's him added to his tally as a manager. I think
that'll give him more bargaining power as well in terms of like the kind of the so-called power struggle with him and the board. You know, so hopefully that'll give him more credit in terms of saying, I want this, I want that, I want that.
But even that, Gav, you know, Ange Postecoglou came in at the start of the season as an unknown manager to many, right? For me anyway, probably for yourself, probably for everybody in the fucking Western world, an unknown manager, and the guy's come in and he's won the first trophy, the first trophy of the season in this league, you know, and he's added to his trophy haul of I think it was three Australian championships, 1 Asian Cup, one Japanese championship, you know, and this is his first trophy in the Western world. So it's a great achievement for him. It's a great achievement for the squad because it's been a totally revamped squad. everybody's had to change their tactics. Everybody's had to change their viewpoint. You know, we're talking about the hamstring injuries. That's because Ange's changed the entire philosophy in the club. He wants his guys to go and attack the ball at every moment. We saw the video at the start, Gav. We don't stop until they stop. That's what we're seeing, mate. That's what we've been seeing the entire season. That's what we're seeing now. That's why we're getting guys fucking pulling up with hamstring injuries, because they're getting pushed to the fucking limit. That's what we want, mate. We want the general to be fucking leading these charges. Come on. Brilliant.
Paddy getting militant again. Watch out, guys.
Yes.
Joseph Agnew in with another suggestion here. So we will find it hard for defence panicking and forwards not scoring them. Plus, this wasting time at the corner flag, the player could lose the ball and another team could score. Ralston was holding up. Ralston was a bit of a man mountain, holding the ball up in that corner flag.
Yes.
So about 5 minutes to go, like a normal time, about 5 minutes to go, and he was saying, "Fuck it, I'm just going to stand here, take the ball off me if you can." Actually won a corner at the first attempt by doing that, and he had two players trying to push him off the ball. But the second half, for the people who watched it and the people who haven't, you can probably surmise that Hibs became a wee bit more competitive in the second half. Over the course of the game, possession-wise, Celtic came out with 66% to Hibs 34. For shots, we had 17 to Hibs 7, and for shots on target, we had 4 to Hibs' 3. Corners, we had 10 to their 1. Yet, they scored from a fucking corner kick. That's just typical. And fouls, we had 11 to their 16. Read into that what you will. Definitely wasn't a dirty game, not at all. Yeah. And by the way, one wee kind of bonus thing to kind of finish off. We've heard that Bernard Higgins is no longer coming to Celtic. He's ripped up the contract. That's
fucking
pretty good news.
Rooney, you prick.
And by the way, for the people who are not interested in that sort of thing, I totally get you, that you might not want to hear us talk about that. But one thing you will appreciate, which affects all of us as Celtic fans, is that there'll be no more silent protests at Celtic Park. That'll be great, because it would be the team who will be the main beneficiary from getting that atmosphere back in the ground. So I am doubly happy with that, about Bernard Higgins cutting ties with the alleged appointment, and us getting the atmosphere back into the ground. And that's what we need, because we've still got a few more games in December before we get to the 2nd of January. And once we get to the kind of the winter break, then at that point, Ange will allow our players to take a break. So we all need to pull together, fans, supporters, and players alike. We need to fucking get back in the trenches and see out the rest of these league games up until the winter break. Paddy, good news. Were you quite chuffed? Were you surprised at that, mate?
Mate, delighted. Obviously, you're never going to come out. You're never going to have people coming out, and saying that certain individuals won't be joining because of, you know, certain demonstrations. But I think in the terms of what we saw, you know, the Green Brigade, the North Curve, guys like that, they've put their neck out in the line and they made a stand, which I 100% back. And I know it's been a divisive opinion in certain weeks, but again, I think they've done a tremendous job. I think they've took the flak for taking that on board themselves. And as expected, Gav, you know, it would come from an external source that, say, Mr. Higgins would not be interested in taking up this position, rather than the Celtic board have decided not to give this position because...
Yeah. So, I think the board have a lost face, which is not something they want to do.
Well, as I say, Gav, they would never ever turn around and say, we couldn't offer this guy the job because certain individuals weren't happy with it.
Yeah.
But
the board would never admit to it, that they would allow fans to control policy.
Of course, mate, of course.
But the fans have done it in an indirect way.
The biggest thing, Gav, is that Celtic supporters are going to be able to support Celtic in a manner that is required without fear of retribution, fear of jail, fear of anything. You know, they're going to be able to go about their place and support Celtic in the way that they have been doing, and in a way that they have needed to do the last couple of weeks, because as we saw, you know, the Green Brigade, North Curve, they've been holding silence, and the atmosphere has went to shit. So a big shout out to them for showing some balls to go and do that, mate, because I know that they've taken a bit of flack for every single corner, not just for external corners, but from their own support, which has been pretty bad to see. Like, but aye, fair play to them. And the main thing is that this bastard won't bury them near Celtic Park. So fair play to them, and absolutely fair play to the supporters that was there today, because our support was magnificent, mate. Top class.
Absolutely.
The tifos were world class, sensational, and it was a great nod to wee Bertie as well, because it was a Bertie Old final. So
aye. Did you see the kind of, it was a cardboard cutout of Bertie Old?
Aye, and the director's box, was it?
Yeah.
I think it might have been one of the family.
Aye, I believe so. Yeah, that was a nice touch. McGinty tuning in to say it's a sad time for the club when the board don't want to actually do what the fans want. They will hide behind words just to save face, or instead of actually supporting the lifeline of this club, which is us. And hopefully we're going to be returning back to a better relationship between the board and the fans. I know that will always be rocky to an extent, but I think that this was one wedge driven between the two parties, which was it was a rock and a hard place, and something had to give, and something has indeed given. The Celtic team has real character, and from Kookaburra. Aye, that's another thing. Character building. As we talked about, like, we've put down a marker for the rest of the season.
Yes.
This will give them confidence for the naturally gifted players to the kind of the more kind of French players. Everybody will feel a part of this one, which is massive. And yeah, I hope it powers us through to the winter break, and at that point we can measure ourselves to where our rivals are, and see where we are at that point. Engage the kind of success at the halfway point, and see where it takes us. Paddy, again, absolutely over the moon. I've got it recorded. I'll watch it back before I have to go up tomorrow. And I think I've only had about like 4 cans, so thankfully I don't see a hangover coming. So I'll probably watch the game back just to relive the memories. And it's a shame that I'm not working in the office, because I would love the banter and wind up the people. That's the one thing that I do miss. But any final comments for yourself? I'm loving that you're bringing the passion, and you had to be back compassionate early on the day.
Mate, just a phenomenal night again. I know it's only the League Cup, as some might suggest, but this is we've put down a marker. We've got a brand new team, a brand new manager, leading on for last season, which was an absolute shambles. And we've come out. We've won the first trophy of the season. We are a squad that's depleted, and we're really, really, really showing character, mate, that shows that this is a squad that's been built to be winners. And I really do believe that. I've got absolutely no fear now. I get into the game in January against the Rotten Mob. I actually winning that, mate. It's a great night. Thank you, Mr. Postnicoglou. Thank you, the players. Thank you, the fans. Thank you, everybody. It's just been an absolute pleasure of a night, and I hope everybody is feeling as happy as I am, because I am pushed and I am loving it.
Brilliant. And to the viewers, thank you so much for joining us for this live recording. Without you guys, it wouldn't be that much fun at all. Just be me and this drunken man.
Thank you, the viewers. Thank you, Joe Agnew, my friend. You're an absolute legend. You're always commenting. Love you, Kookaburra. Everybody else, thank you very much. And everybody for the views, the comments, everything. Hail.
Absolutely.
Love yous.
Brilliant. Santa has came early. So yeah, yes. if you're on YouTube, please leave us a comment. Please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And as you know, that we're on Spotify, we're on Twitter, and we're on Facebook. But from me and Paddy, we're absolutely buzzing. I'm going to watch the game back again. Probably have another couple of cans and then call it a night. But I hope you guys had as much fun as we had watching that game. So, mate, hail, and Merry Christmas, guys.
Champions! Come on!
Good evening. Good night.